Well, a good Monday morning to you, friends. The Apostle Peter knew the who. And no, I'm not quoting Dr. Seuss on this one. But the Apostle Peter knew the who, but he didn't know the how. In last week's reading that Pastor Joe preached about and that I shared about in our weekly devotion, Peter spoke for the rest of the disciples and for all disciples by confessing Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus commended the confession, identifying the Father as its source and its truth, as the foundation of the church and the church's endurance, no matter what. That confession is what keeps the church going. And it's what keeps the church growing. Jesus is the Christ, the incarnate Son of God who came into the world to rescue sinners. There would be no other ever. What Peter didn't understand and what he did not like was the how. Peter was opposed to the Christ suffering. Didn't make sense in his brain. In fact, he was so opposed to it that he missed the ending. Listen to this, friends, from Matthew 16:21. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and be killed, and on the third day be raised. He was never going to stay in that grave. And so notice Peter's opposition to Jesus' death prevented him from considering the resurrection, which Jesus promised and which Jesus delivered. The suffering and death of Jesus is part of the bigger story. As we confess in the creed together, Jesus' incarnation, cross, resurrection, and return for judgment, they all go together. You take one out and you're no longer with Jesus, but you're against him. Now Jesus goes on to lay out the same kind of life for his followers. We must die in order to live, and we have. In our baptism, we've died to sin. We are baptized into Christ's death, and we will share in Christ's resurrection. We live with the cross out in the open in our lives. The crosses which we bear are more than just our own struggles and challenges in this sin-filled and sinful world. They are the challenges and struggles of the people whom God puts in our pathway as we walk with Christ each day. We die to ourselves and our own self-centeredness when we focus on serving others. Friends, dear baptized ones, by God's grace and call, we know the who of our salvation, and we know the how of living out our salvation. It's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus and his cross and the empty tomb. May we always be led by the Spirit of Jesus to live with the cross out in the open.